Okay.
Oh, is she ready for us?
I don't know. She said
I
6,
think
but
she's still. Yeah, she's still got scheduling. Good, aren't they?
There's more.
Yeah, I got a box still.
There's more.
You just stick
The
with
ones
me. I
they
give
give
you
out on
all
the
the great
airplanes.
travel tips.
They give these out on some airplanes.
Yes, I love it.
Yes.
I'm always busy collecting. I'm getting you guys ready to travel already. Bill?
yeah, she came with it, and we were like, let's just leave it.
Bill would have been funny.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill.
On the paperwork, I put Whitney Booth because she's a big fan on Google. But she doesn't know the Booth because that's what her first owner.
She really wants to watch Best on YouTube.
And I thought to myself, I just don't like the name Booth.
Calvary Chapel YouTube channel?
But she
Yep.
What kind of a dog is he?
Whitney
Oh, I wasn't even looking.
You want to check it?
I'll have to look.
YouTube? Check the
Okay,
YouTube channel, see if it's up.
So that's good.
Yeah. There's Joe. There's Melissa and
Oh.
Holly.
Who's the last one here?
Oh, it's Melissa. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they all say, Melissa.
Those are not, those seats are not available. Please come up in the front. Melissa, come on up.
You can sit next to Nevaeh. Okay. We're on. Okay, we're on. All right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start because we're live online. We don't want them to sit there and look at us doing nothing. So, one thing I'll probably say it a couple times because I don't think people don't always hear it. A lot of you guys are individuals, personalities. You know, I mean, strong personalities and stuff. Yeah, my wife. My wife's like that. For the trip, we're going to ask you to not operate out of your individual personality, independent strengths. Maybe they'll become necessary at some point, but hi, boo. Yeah, no, I'm not going to play with you. Yeah, because we really need to be cohesive and work as a group. Okay, and so in that sense, you got to put the independent part to the background. And the practical part of it is, because we're a group, we go someplace, if we wander, straggle, do our own little thing, it makes everybody else stop. And so you're really burning up everybody else's time. And you say, well, it's only 10 minutes. Yeah, but it's 10 minutes for everybody. And 10 minutes for everybody in Israel. And so if you could just, work on that and just go, I want to go look over there. No, we're part of a group, we'll try to accommodate things as much as we can, but, some of that stuff you're not independent. So you just have to figure that we're part of a group and make it work. And everybody will appreciate it. I've been on some tours before, back in the past, where people just they're on their own agenda, and everybody's on the bus back at the time when they're supposed to be there, and somebody's not there. And so you just sit, and it's really frustrating. So we'll try to minimize that and just encourage each other and go, hey, it's just part of the love thing of saying, let's be considerate of each other. Okay, so what are we starting with?
Shema.
Joey has a test.
Okay, so who would like to say the Shema on their own right now? No. She asked if she could cheat and use the card. No cards, no nothing. I want to see who's come along. No card, no phone, no cheat or notes. Who's ready? Robin? Okay, wait, whoop.
as I know. If you give me the first letter, I can probably do it. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Lebahata et Adonai Echad. This one I don't know this one. Can you give me the first letter? No? Okay. Then that's as much as I remember. Yeah.
Chutzpah, yeah. Wow, look what you guys. Ooh.
That's for me?
That's for you.
Oh, I thought it was for her.
Oh, very cool. Good job, Robert.
All right. What else we got? Oh, okay. So, how many of you guys pay attention to the news? International news? Heard anything about Israel? Okay. All right. If you haven't, yeah, the news is always intended to be sensational. So, just to let you guys know, GTI is probably number one consideration for all their tours is safety. Okay, so if you're watching whatever news station, and they're going, oh, rockets and this and that and everything, and it's a war, and yeah, okay, well, GTI is not going to let us do anything that's dangerous. Okay, so Rich is on the ground right now in Israel. He's going to be paying close attention. They have internal sources. They have people live in the land. The people are invested in the security apparatus, and they know the details of what's going on. So all that to say to you guys, you don't need to be worried about safety. I mean, practically speaking, it's like, yeah, if you go to Los Angeles, something could happen to you. But you don't plan for something to happen. You're not going, oh, I'm planning on being mugged in Los Angeles. You go, no, I realize that there's certain things that can happen. And you go, in Israel, they take really good care of tourists. It's a huge part of their economy. They really care about people. So we just really want to encourage you to if that's a concern, just you can dial it down and go, we're going to be fine. If there's any risk that they go, this is serious enough for us to adjust, they'll communicate with us. Okay, so we don't go to the Gaza Strip, we don't go to the Lebanese border, we don't go to we don't go to places where it's potentially uncertain. And the places that they take the tourists are all the best, nicest, fun, historic, beautiful, safe places. So we just really want you to, if that's a concern at all, it's not a concern for me, it's not a concern for Joey, but we just want you guys to, if you have questions, please feel free to ask them. We will, give you straight answers and let you know that that's really not something you need to worry about. GTI is just trying to communicate with people so they're on it, they're paying attention. They're not going to ask you guys to risk harm in any way. Okay. What news? Oh, they've had some rocket attacks from Syria, and a couple from Lebanon, and a few from Gaza, which is something they deal with pretty regularly, and so they go, okay, but it makes the news and headlines and stuff. So, okay, Tina is working on the master list with all the information. If you haven't checked your information, okay, so that's my efficient wife. Okay, so you can feel free to look at it and just verify, because we want to make sure that everybody gets all the information, emails and text messages and stuff like that. There's an opportunity for you to express if you don't want all the text messages. Like Jeff was saying, I'm working, I don't really want to get text messages all the time. Okay, well, that totally makes sense. Just let us know, and we won't bug you with those.
You'll get the emails.
Yeah, so, because we just want to keep everybody in the loop, and do a good job at communicating. So you do need to check. If you haven't already, do check it, because some of the information sometimes gets interesting. One of our guys had his birth date was wrong, and he was listed as being 1,720 years old. So don't think he's going to get through customs with that, but so anyway, just check it. What else we got?
So on the phone list, because we were having such a hard time with the email list, as in people don't check their emails like they do their phone. So like on our potluck tonight, most people didn't know what was on or off, which is okay. But that's the other reason why we wanted to do the text, because everybody's watching their text. But with that, this text group, which I'll need no matter what for traveling, is not a update of Israel news information text group. Okay, so that'll keep our text down to a minimum. What it is for if you have a question about the Israel trip, about the homework, about our next meeting, any of that kind of stuff that correlates directly with our group, that would be great. Tina brought it up on Thursday night when we met, that she's going out on hikes. So if you're going to go out on a hike, put it out on the text. And then, especially if you have a little notice, like at least an hour, but even the day before, feel free to put it out on the text. Hey, I'm going hiking and I'm going to do Woodland Trail, probably going to take an hour, and it's medium difficulty. Anybody want to join, meet me there at 3. And that's for everybody you can do. Because again, we want to build community, and if somebody knows that somebody's going hiking, then the rest of us will show up. Sound good? So use it definitely for that. And then the other thing that I need is for the girls that are singles. Have any of you decided who you're going to go with already? Mary, who are you going with? Okay. Rooming with. So we're gonna decide the rooming list for us rather than just randomly do it with GTI. Anybody else made that decision? Mary? Okay. Okay. And then we have Taylor and Melissa, right? Are you room by yourself? Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, okay. All right, very good. That's what I needed to know. Okay. And then just so you know, we're at 38 total right now, which is fantastic. And we still have a couple more that are interested. Tony and Tanya Hufner joined our group just this last weekend. And there was a question on our itinerary that she brought up that I didn't really care, but I didn't notice necessarily. We were saying it was the 18th through the 28th, and it's technically the 18th through the 29th. We're there from the 18th to we leave on the 18th, we stay in Israel all the way through the 28th, and then we fly back on the 29th. So that's the official dates, and we have some itineraries here if you want to see that. But so grab one of those. But it's the 18th through the 29th is our total time, even though we'll be back on the 29th. Make sense? Okay.
Transportation.
Yeah. Or I can.
Yeah.
Okay. In June, yes, sir. Okay, the other thing that I need is who needs transportation from here to LAX and return? And if I could just have a show of hands. Yes, we're
trying to figure out what
Okay, so somebody count. It's at 6:30, but check the itinerary. PM. Yeah, we'll be arriving 3 hours ahead. Okay, so put your hands up and let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You guys are good. Okay, 8. And with us is 12. And then we'll double check with Dick and Leroy. Yeah, okay. Okay, great.
Yeah, because we're trying to figure out what makes sense as far as how to do it.
Well, here was the thing, the finding so I talked to a tour company and all they have available is a full-size bus. And they don't care how many people go on the bus. They charge you for the full price of the bus. And it was $2,200 each way.
Yeah, so you go.
So it's $4,400 for a round trip. So that's why it was important to know the number. Now, if we were all going, then it's manageable. But if it's the 12 of us, then we'll try and find, or 15 of us, we'll try and. I'm sorry? Well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the trade-off on why we're thinking about it is some people have family down there, you know, and so they go, I'll just go there and stay nearby, friend, whatever. Okay, so that obviously makes it simple for them. If you're trying to get somebody from here and say, will you drive all the way to LA and then drive all the way back and then drive all the way back and then drive all the way back, it's asking a lot of somebody unless they're a family member, and they may not want to be family after that, you know. But so what we're saying is if you don't have a convenient option like that, then we'll try to accommodate it. Okay, yeah, so that's what yeah.
You're still going to go with them?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, because the options are, shuttle, rent a car, do something, and we just have to figure out which one makes the most sense. We got more than enough people. That's too much for one vehicle, unless we get some sort of a in between a bus and a van. Yeah, it won't hold 15 people in luggage. Yeah, I mean. Yeah, that's right. That van, you're not driving it to LA though. Yeah, downhill, right? It's all downhill. Yeah.
But I could fit 5 and I have a truck, so I could dump all the luggage in my truck.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We'll explore all those things. If you have a suggestion that this is maybe something we hadn't thought about, please feel free to share it. But we're just trying to troubleshoot it and. Yeah.
You can all stand up in the back of one of these shuttle buses.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yep. Okay. Okay.
Yes, same on the way back. We have people that are going.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll communicate. If we come up with an idea, we'll throw it out and see if it sticks. See if it makes sense. Okay. Yeah. We'll work on it. It doesn't need to be done today, but we'll just communicating with you guys and find out who needs it. Okay. So practical stuff. We're gonna show you the first lesson. Okay. I know you guys can watch it on your own, and maybe some of you have, but in case you haven't, it just gets you started on it. Just so you can. Me personally, I would say, really encourage you to do as much as you can in preparation. The physical stuff, that'll just make it easier for you. The spiritual preparation is these kinds of things, where Yeah, I think if you watch Rich talk about drinking from a fire hose, and there's so much stuff coming at you, sensory things, visual, conversations, details about the sites that we're looking at, and so you can kind of get an overload and miss some things. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I'm on overload, it's like I'm looking, but I'm not really hearing what's going on, and then it's like, what did he say? I didn't catch it. And so the preparation stuff just helps you kind of sort through some of that, where they talk about this site and you're going, oh yeah, I read about that. It means okay, so you're dialed in, and it just makes it more valuable to you. I don't know about all you guys, but honestly, the last time I went to Israel, I didn't think I was going to go back again. So I want to make the most of it. And I don't know if you guys have plans to go in the future and things like that, but you just want to get as much as you can out of it, and the preparation stuff just helps you to do that. So I'm just trying to encourage you to get the most. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and run this, and you don't need to take notes, except that there will be some. You'll have this accessible to you, email stuff. So if you don't get it, let us know. We'll make sure that you get dialed in, because it's part of the pre-course preparation. And so this is the first lesson. There's 9 lessons. Has everyone gotten it yet?
Has anyone not gotten it? Did you email Janie?
His email account is not correct in the forms you guys gave me.
Right, so
I got it corrected
email
today.
Janie direct, or call her direct and tell her you haven't gotten it.
Okay. Yeah, because you definitely want to get it.
You're missing the 2 E's that you showed me today is actually from GTI that I got that from, so that's why you're not getting it.
Yeah, they have it wrong. So, okay. So, with anything else? Moody Bible Atlas.
Yeah, this was a question. I'll just do it real quick. Hey, so this was a question about this book, because they mentioned it quite a few times. Below the trip curriculum, it gives you pages for homework, links. It's directly out of the book. So you don't actually need the book. But Maria wanted to see it, and so this is the book, and you're welcome to peruse it after we're done. But every page is already included in those links.
All right. You got the remote? You can press play.
Will this stop it? If you have a question, say, I have a question, and we'll stop.
Yeah.
We'll stop the video and answer the question.
Go. Yeah, we're going to get all the way. Make a better door than a window, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hello and welcome to lesson number 1. Before we get started, we'd want to make sure that you take the time to read the sections of the New Moody Atlas of the Bible. This textbook for our class is going to be very, very helpful. And I think that what you're going to find is that these readings will not only supplement what we're going over, but help you have a better understanding of the land of Israel and Israel in general. I also believe that when you come home from the trip, that this will become one of the most valuable resources you have, as this will enhance your learning experience when you get back. If you haven't gone ahead and read these, please stop the video, do the reading, and then continue on. For this lesson, we're going to be going through a few different objectives. First is to understand the size of Israel, as well as its neighboring countries. Understand Eastern versus Western thinking, memorize the Shema, memorize vocabulary for basic Hebrew, and learn the definitions from the list. As you're reading through your textbook, you're going to notice a section that says that geography is a flavor. Now, why this might sound kind of strange, I like how the author uses the idea of coffee, and how when you go into a coffee shop, there'll be a lot of different types of coffee beans grown in different regions around the world, and how each one has a distinct flavor and taste. The same thing when it comes to geography. Geography lends itself to a people group that's going to be developed. Knowing geography is going to help you understand people and their land and what they went through. And the same thing with the Bible. The more you can know the geography and the placement of where God puts his people, the better you're going to understand God's purpose for his people. I tell people a lot that the land of Israel is known as the fifth gospel, and the reason for that is you can learn a lot from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But I find that every time I go to Israel, the land itself teaches me. Everything from the smell to the food to interacting and walking shows me a new piece that I'm able to take home, and as I read the text comes alive even more. So I'm excited for you as you begin to study. Keep that in mind, that everything we study is going to lend itself to you understanding the Bible better and getting you ready for this experience as you go through the land and walk the land that will hopefully take your Bible from being in black and white to color, or even, as some of my friends say, to 3D. In this next section, we want to continue to talk about the geography and really about how big is the land of Israel. And people, I find, are very surprised to find out that it is not as big as they think it is. It is a very small land, but a very strategic land. Currently, as you look at the modern state of Israel, you're looking at a length of 263 miles long, north to south, and a width between 9 to 71 miles wide, east to west, just depending on where you are. And your book puts it, and I think this is a great way to look at it, at roughly the same size as the state of Massachusetts or Lake Erie. We're not talking about a very, very big piece of land. But interesting, as you follow the news and you watch, this is a piece of land that has been fought over and had just skirmishes and things going on in it since the time that Abraham went. You can begin to see here just the size difference that we have. So when you're thinking about Israel, Israel again is the same size as Massachusetts. And you can look at Massachusetts compared to the United States as a whole. Here we've inserted the map of California with, again, Israel. And again, proportionally done, just to show you that if you were to take Israel and put it inside California, you'd be looking at the area probably just above Los Angeles down to the border of Mexico. Very small country in comparison to the land that we know and that we are associated with all the time. Here in Texas, again, Texas is quite a bit bigger than Israel, and by far. So Israel's a very small area, and again, on your tests, as things come up, remember what the book said. The book talks about Israel being the size of Massachusetts or the size of Lake Erie, and just the dimensions that we stated in the beginning of this presentation. The other thing that we want to begin to talk to you about is Israel's strategic location, and we're going to talk about trade routes eventually, as well as where it is set up on the continent, but I want you to see what surrounds it. You've got Israel right here with the Mediterranean to the left of it, creating a boundary. And then all of the land masses that touch Israel are going to be countries that, again, are maybe not the best friends with Israel. So what you have to the top is you have Lebanon, and then to the side of that is Syria, and then to the right of Israel will be Jordan, and then you have Egypt. You're going to want to make sure you know these countries, because this will come up later, most likely in a test, to where you will need to be able to label the countries around Israel. It's also important for you to know, just so that as we begin to have conversation about Israel and begin to use modern-day terms of land connected to it, that you'll know what we're talking about. And as you begin to watch the news and you begin to see different things happening in Israel, you'll know the different players and countries that are associated and right next to the borders of Israel. The next section that we're going to head into, we've labeled Think Hebrew. And the reason for that is that we have to get in the mindset that in the Hebrew text, in the Hebrew way of thinking, words have meaning. Let me give you a couple examples. The word Bethlehem, if you were to break it apart, it means house of bread. You've got the word Bet, which means house, and you have Lechem, which means bread. So the word Bethlehem is house of bread. So of course, just as you look at it in the Hebrew way, when Jesus says that I am the bread of life, well, of course, the bread of life, it's pretty interesting that he comes from the house of bread. A couple more. You're going to go to a place when you go to Israel called Bet Shemesh. Again, Bet meaning house, and Shemesh meaning sun. So we get a place called the house of sun. We get Bet Shan. Again, Bet, house, and Shan, giving you security. So the house of security. So as you come through with names mean something. So when you're reading through the text and you come to a place or a person's name, stop for a second, because those names will have a meaning that will probably enhance the story as you're reading it. Elijah is an example of a name that has a meaning. It means Yahweh is God. Again, I find it interesting that it's Elijah taking on the prophets of Baal, and the proof there is Yahweh God or is Baal God, and his name already states it. Elisha means God saves. You're going to see as well, not only do words have meaning, but places have meaning. When you're reading in the text in Matthew 16, it says, "Now, when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi," Matthew's writing that because he expects that you know what Caesarea Philippi is. So as we begin to think Hebrew, make sure as you're reading through the text and as you study and as you get ready to go to Israel, know that the words and the places, all of those have meaning, and they're going to bring more color to your story that you're reading. It's not going to change probably the theology of what you've been taught throughout the Bible, but I guarantee as you begin to look at things Hebrew, it's going to help bring out some of the nuances that maybe you've missed in the past. As we continue on with this concept of thinking Hebrew, I want to show that to you in a little bit more clear way. Wherever you are. And that's going to be in the center of camp where all the people are. God chooses, even from the very beginning, to come down and dwell amongst his people and to have a relationship. And so that's what thinking Hebrew, when we look at the tablets, we go, oh yeah, 10 commandments I need to live by. Yes, we need to live by them. They're important. Saying, Moses, my most special place is wherever you are. And that's going to be in the center of camp where all the people are. God chooses, even from the very beginning, to
Hey, for the Jewish people, names have meaning. And in the Hebrew text in our Bibles, every name is super important. So when we're there and Ronan's going to say something, right? And you're going to just be like this, won't say anything. You'll go, hey, don't you think that's an important word for you to ask? What does that mean? Because it means something. And I know Joe, on one of his teachings, there was a list of names. And he went, yeah, skip through them, right? And then afterwards, I just picked one of the names in the story and looked it up in the Hebrew, and it was super relevant. And so I got him afterwards. I said, dude, check this out. And he's like, oh, man. You know how Joe goes, oh, man, I should have read those names. So when he's saying that, do that. And anytime you're there and you see a name or a place, question it, right? Go, put your hand up and go, hey, what's that mean? And you're going to be amazed at the significance. Yes. I don't know. So that's a great question. What does Caesarea Philippi mean? Actually, I probably do know. I'd come up with it. It's probably after Caesar Philippi. But don't quote me on that. Look it up. I think that's great. And even with Ronan, he does not mind telling you, I don't know the answer. We'll find out. You can Google it. We call it Rabbi Google, and he's fantastic. Yeah, Mike? Okay, there you go. So after Caesar, after Herod, Philippi. Okay? All right.
Here, from a Hebrew mind. As we continue on with this concept, it's not going to change probably the theology of what you've been taught throughout the Bible, but I guarantee as you begin to look at things Hebrew, it's going to help bring out some of the nuances that maybe you've missed in the past. As we continue on with this concept of thinking Hebrew, I want to show that to you in a little bit more clear way. A lot of times when I'm teaching classes like this, I'll sit with my students and say, how would you describe God? And you're going to get a lot of different answers. You know, a lot of my students will sit there and say, well, he's all-powerful, or he's all-knowing, or he's everywhere at the same time. You see, we tend to describe in a Western view, and that means that we tend to describe in terms of definitions. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way that we've been taught. It's the Greek influence that we've been brought up with. And, you know, when you hear the story of David and Goliath, and you hear that Goliath's sword weighed so much, so many shekels, your first question is, well, how much is a shekel? How much does that weigh? You want to figure out how many pounds it was. And these are not bad questions to ask. But in a Hebrew mindset, it's not as much definition as it is describing God in pictures. We have a saying in English that says that a picture speaks 1,000 words. And this is a very accurate statement. You can look at a picture and you can get a lot of ideas and you can get a lot of information from just one picture. Well, the Old Testament, or the Hebrew text, is written in pictures. It's describing a lot of pictures. And so as you begin to think Hebrew, you want to be thinking along these terms. For example, if I were to ask a Hebrew person or a Jewish kid the question of, how would you describe God? They wouldn't use words like I described of, indescribable, or words of all-powerful. They'd say things like, he's eagle's wings. God is a rock. He's living water. He's wind. He's a shepherd. In the context, if I asked you to close your eyes and I were to use, our Western way of definitions, and you heard me say something like, he's all-powerful, I don't know what would come to mind. But if you close your eyes and you hear the words eagle's wings, or rock, or living water, or wind, you begin to put together a picture. And that's the way it is with the Old Testament. And as you walk into this time of being in Israel, we're going to be dealing with thinking a little bit differently. And hopefully as you make this trip over there through the study time you do now into the time you come back, and by thinking Hebrew, you'll hopefully pick up some more of the nuances of the text. As we continue with Hebrew thinking, again, I want to show you another example. I call it the love story. And it's a simple thing of starting with this picture here that we've all seen before, 10 Commandments, and asking the question of what's wrong with this picture. Now, when I'm typically teaching and asking this question, I'll get a lot of answers of, well, they should all be on one tablet, or maybe it's, written in Roman numerals, should be written in Hebrew. Great thoughts. But we're looking more to go, what's wrong with this picture if we're thinking Hebrew? And what I want to take some time to look at here is that we're talking about the 10 Commandments. We're talking about Moses, Sinai, and a chance to go up to the top and meeting with God. And when I talk to a lot of people from the States, and when I'm talking about with a Western mindset, the first thing Christians typically do, or people looking at this, is they say it's the 10 Commandments and the most important commandments in the Bible. Well, from a Hebrew mindset, there are 613 commandments as you count them through the Torah. And these commandments are all the same as far as importance. And so there's nothing more important about the 10 here than the other 613 altogether that exist elsewhere. And so for the Jewish people, they memorized the first 5 books of the Bible. They knew the 613 commandments inside and out. And that's why you get these moments with the Pharisees going back and forth about what commandment's more important than the other. And Jesus is going to step up and say, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. He's basically going to say the Shema. Now, when we ask this question, what's wrong with this picture, it's a little bit of a trick question. Really what we're looking at here is the concept of what's happening in the Bible. Now, if we're going to jump forward a little bit here, what we need to talk about is covenant. And what a Hebrew mindset would say is that this is a picture of love. This is a love story of God being with his people more than it is of 10 Commandments. Now, I'm giving you, again, a Jewish interpretation, so take it as you will. But when we look at this, what they would say, as if you're thinking Hebrew, is that you would look at the text about covenants. Now, first thing about a covenant is that a covenant is always done, at least in this style of covenant, from higher authority down to the lower. So the higher authority always sets up the covenant with the lower. And we're going to say for sure that we know that the higher authority is God, because God in chapter 20 of the 10 Commandments says, and God spoke these words, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. So what we're getting here is we're getting a covenant of God going, I will be your God, I brought you out of Egypt, therefore what's about to come down is the covenant of what it means to follow me. Now, if the lesser party broke the covenant, it was void. So what Moses has going on right now is he goes to the top of the mountain. If you read the text here in Exodus, he goes up there, God meets with him and sets up this covenant with him. And he makes the covenant saying, this is what I expect of you if you're going to follow me. I will be your God. I will do these things. I will take you through the wilderness. I'll bring you to the promised land. But here's how I want you to act. Well, when we look at these at a covenant, the other thing that happens is that both parties keep a copy of the covenant in their special place. It's the idea that you get one, I get one. We both remember how the covenant went. So when you look here in the text in chapter 32, verse 15, it says that Moses turned down, this is the first time that he went up on the mountain, Moses turned down and went down the mountain with the 2 tablets of the testimony in his hands. They were inscribed on both sides, front and back. The tablets were the work of God. The writing was the writing of God engraved on the tablets. Now, what we're saying here from a Jewish interpretation is when someone looks at the 10 Commandments who has a Hebrew mindset, they're sitting there going, you know what I see here is I see 2 tablets that Moses brings down, but he's bringing down 2 copies. One copy is Moses and one's is God's. And it's this idea that Moses is up there with God, and God says, all right, Moses, here's your copy, and I'm also going to give you my copy, Moses, because my most special place, Moses, is going to be wherever you are. And you got to imagine Moses going, wow, this is pretty incredible. God desires to have relationship with us, and his most special place isn't going to be someplace far away, but it's going to be wherever we are. And if you read in the text, it continues on and says that when Joshua heard the noise of the people shouting, he said to Moses, there is sound of war in camp. So they're making their way down the hill from the top of Mount Sinai. When Moses approached the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, because remember they made a calf when he was gone to worship as a god, his anger burned and he threw the tablets out of his hand, breaking them into pieces at the foot of the mountain. Well, what's 1 and 2? One is don't make, we get the 2 commandments there of don't have any other gods but me, and don't make any graven images. They've already broken 2 of them. So Moses realizes God doesn't have to keep his part of the promise anymore. So he breaks the covenant, breaks the stone tablets in half, because God's no longer having to do what God said he would do. From the get-go, they couldn't keep the covenant. Now, the reason why I would call this a love story is because if you look just a little bit further in chapter 34, thinking Hebrew a little bit more with it, is that the Lord comes to Moses, and the Lord said to Moses, chisel out 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and I'll write the words on them that I did before, and be ready in the morning and come to the top of Sinai. So he does that. Moses chisels out 2 stone tablets, goes to the top, goes up there. He asks all the people to wait and stay away. And it says that the Lord came and he passed in front of Moses, proclaiming, the Lord, the gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger, abiding in love and faithfulness, maintaining love to the thousands, and forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin. That he does not leave the guilty unpunished, and he punishes the children and their children for the sin of the generations of the fathers to the 3rd and 4th generation. This is where it gets really good. Moses bowed down to the ground at once and worshipped. O Lord, if I have found favor in your eyes, he said, then let the Lord go with us. Although this is a stiff-necked people, forgive our wickedness and our sin, and take us as your inheritance. He's basically asking again, going, God, we don't want to just have you as God. We want you to be amongst us. We want to be a part of you. And when you look at the story again in verse 29, in that very same chapter, in chapter 34, what we see is that when Moses came down from the Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of the testimony in his hands, he was unaware that his face was radiant because he had spoken with the Lord. He comes down with 2. So again, a Hebrew perspective looking at this is that God gives him his copy. Where is that going to go? Moses is going to take the 2 copies and he's going to put them in to a place called the Ark of the Covenant, which is going to be kept in the tabernacle in the Holy of Holies. And if you want to find God, where's God hanging out? He's hanging out in the Ark of the Covenant, right there where those copies are, saying, Moses, my most special place is wherever you are. And that's going to be in the center of camp where all the people are. God chooses, even from the very beginning, to come down and dwell amongst his people and to have a relationship. And so that's what, thinking Hebrew, when we look at the tablets, we go, oh yeah, 10 commandments I need to live by. Yes, we need to live by them. They're important. But thinking Hebrew says, not only are they important, but this is a story, a love story. This right here shows us a symbol of God wanting to be amongst his people. This is where we get the Shema from. Love God only. He's the only one worthy to be loved. And so as you continue through the text, as you continue to work your way through, as you get ready for Israel, continue to think Hebrew. It's going to be tough at first, but I'm telling you, it will open up so many avenues for you to be able to study and to see God work as you look for the pictures, as you look for the ways that God's working in the text that maybe aren't definition-based, but picture-based. In this section of the lesson, we'd like to teach you the Shema. Now, the Shema is a Jewish prayer that you will find when you go over to Israel that Jews to this day still pray. And it's taken out of Deuteronomy 6:4, and really out of the entire chapter of Deuteronomy 6. But the part we're going to focus on is just 6:4 through 10. It says here, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the doorframes of your houses and on your gates." It's the idea that in everything you do, God alone is to be worshipped. Remember him when you get up. Remember him when you go to bed. Put it on your doorframe of your home so that everybody knows who you serve. This is going to be an instrumental verse in prayer, as you're going to begin to see as you go to Israel that these people, this small little nation, will rebel against mighty nations such as Rome, the Babylonians, and all the different countries and nations that come against them, for the exact reason that they say that only God's allowed to be worshipped, nobody else. So we want to teach it to you in Hebrew. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavcha, uv'chol nafshecha, uv'chol meodecha. Simply saying, it is, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength," or might. Amen. You want to practice this. We're going to say it a lot when we're in Israel. It's something that you want to know. And again, just practice it over and over. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'achavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavcha, uv'chol nafshecha, uv'chol meodecha. If you can practice that over and over again, even when I say it, I'm not a Hebrew-speaking person, and so I'm messing it up a little bit. But just try to memorize that, because when we get to Israel, you'll be able to work on it. And this is something we want you to come back with. We want you to come back with a verse that is pivotal to the Old Testament and to something that Jesus would have known in his time. And again, reciting Scripture is a good thing to begin with. But the Shema will be a part of your trip and something that will probably get into your blood as you go. And it'll help you understand just the people of Israel a little bit better. We're going to go over vocabulary for Lesson 1. Basically, as we go through the different lessons, you're going to have a couple different words that you need to memorize and know. On your quizzes, you will be tested to see if you know these words and if you remember what they mean. First one, Shema. You've already heard it in the prayer, the Shema. And Shema simply means to hear. Adonai is also in the Shema, and it means the Lord. Eloheinu is our God. Echad, one. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. To hear the Lord our God in one. A couple more that are really going to be helpful when you get to Israel, because you'll use these ones. Maim. Maim means water. Lechem means bread, and we talked about that when we talked about Bet Lechem. So lechem is bread. Chalav. Chalav, milk. And kafe is coffee. So I'm sure when you're there, you're going to want to order some milk, you're going to want to eat some bread, you're going to need some water. These words are going to come in very helpful for you. The definitions that we're going to go over for Lesson 1 are Nazarite, Nazarite vow, and Torah. We're going to leave these here for you to find. You can use the glossary of terms document that we have included in the lesson. And it's one that you can download and get it, and it's got all the different terms and definitions throughout the entire lessons. What we want you to do is make sure you understand what a Nazarite is, understand what a Nazarite vow is, and what Torah is. After you look these up, write them down, and make sure you're ready, because during your quizzes and tests, you will be asked to give back the information of what these mean. This concludes the material for lesson number 1. Please take time to review and make sure you understand all the different things we went through. And start by reading through the next sections that we have for lesson number 2.
Okay, that was awesome. There are hyperlinks, like I said, below the lesson plan for the glossary of terms. It'll all be in there. So just download it, and it'll have the glossary terms for the whole study. So you only need to do it one time. And then Maria asked about, I think, was it the mezuzah you're asking about? That's what he was talking about on the doorposts. The Shema is in it's a little thing that goes on their doorpost at an angle, and inside it is the Shema. Okay, and you'll see that in every home and in every building. And so, any questions?
Yeah. Any questions? Good start? Good start? Simple, not hard, all right? So, just go at your own pace on the go at your own pace on the homework. Oh yeah, for the things. Feel free to wander around, look at those links. Just invest some time and invest some effort. You'll get the reward of the information, knowledge, understanding will be deep, and it's all for your guys' good. So hopefully you'll take advantage of it.
It gives you the aha moment when you're there. You're thinking, oh, that's what I studied. I remember that. Because I remember multiple times doing that, from doing the homework the first round. When I get there, it's like, okay, this was worth it. So.
Okay. Está bien? Tov?
Next meeting. We haven't set it yet. Is every 2 weeks too much for you guys?
It's coming quick.
As we say, sababa. Great. Yeah. Okay. So we'll shoot for. Just making sure there's nothing else. That's that prayer walk. So nothing. Sunday's good. Okay. So the 30th, Sunday the 30th. Same time, same place. Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll continue up the hill.
Yeah. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah, oh yes. Yeah.
Melissa's back there streaming.
Sorry? Yeah, April 30.
YouTube church website.
Yeah. We'll double check.
I haven't been. This is now going to be updated to have everybody's right email.
I'll just say this. If you have not gotten the pre-trip curriculum, you need to call or email Janie directly, because she's not going to get this updated. This is for us. And so she's going to continue to have your wrong email and is not going to get it to you. So call her and say, hey, I haven't gotten it. And she'll go, okay, well, let me update your email because you just didn't get the email. Yeah, and it's happened to a few of you. So, yeah, it's been to a few of you. So call or email her directly, and then you'll get the link.
I email everybody and Robin. I tried to email them, and I think people, it must have not, people spam, because I didn't get a response back. I was trying to set up the food for tonight. So if you see something from, I won't say Robin Ross, but Robin Ross, I'll try to help. So you guys see me for the next time.
Okay, any other questions, thoughts, considerations? We're going to Israel. So awesome. Okay, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks or sooner.